Hello, hello. Welcome back to another episode of Everyday Real Talk with Michelle. And how's everybody doing out there? I hope everybody is doing well on today. I know I am. Um, Feeling pretty good. So I sat and thought about what topic I would like to discuss next. And what came to me was how we view our lives and the stories we tell ourselves about our lives. Because if you think about it, like our lives are not just based on facts. It also comes from the stories that we tell ourselves that we replay in our mind over and over, which brings me to today's topic. So I want to discuss how the stories we tell ourselves about our lives are running our lives. And not only do those stories run our lives, they also influence how we react in certain ways because it influences our emotions, our behaviors. It influences our thoughts and how we see ourselves. And it just has a big impact on our behavior all around, right? So, what we want to do is like recognize when that behavior has run its course in our lives. But in order to do that, first we have to figure out where it started. Why are we telling ourselves this story? Because that's what gives us a different perspective. If you think about it, two people can have how two people can have the same experience and have different outcomes. It's because they view things differently. Sometimes it's not that anything is wrong with our lives, but it's just the story that we've been telling. Because a lot of the times we don't react to the reality of things. We react more to the meaning behind things. And that gives us a different perspective. And that reaction can stem from a lot of different things. Like you could have had like one painful event that took place, or it could be from childhood. It could be from a place of you feeling rejected. Um, it could come from a place of not feeling like enough or being overlooked or religion. And I could actually probably give you something from each of those things for myself. But the one thing that stands out for me that I could give you an example of is something that took place a long time ago. I was in fourth grade and I had to go to this new school, right? And at first I was excited about it because I had two older cousins that went there as well. And, I envisioned seeing them at school and us walking back to my grandma's house after school, which never happened because I didn't know at the time neither one of them would go over there after school. But anyway, so that was disappointing. But so, okay, I'm this new kid at school. It's tough enough when you are starting a new grade because that's kind of, you don't know what to expect. But starting a new school, not knowing anybody, and attending the same school for the first 3 years before I did this, that was a big change in my life. So this was really like double overwhelming for me. So anyway, when I started there, I know the first week was in itself different because I don't think I had anybody to talk to at that time. I don't know. I may have had one or two girls that talked to me or I may have talked to. But you have a new girl at school, boys are looking at you. I don't know. It was still kind of a confusing time for me with boys. I didn't like boys. But I know when boys like you or whatever, they had a funny way of showing, well, a different way of showing it. But during that first week, this group of boys, for some reason, they felt it was a good idea to I don't even know how to explain this, but what I can tell you is they told me after school they was gonna get me, right? Like they was gonna beat me up or something. And it was like this whole group of boys. And I couldn't wrap my mind around why. they wanted to do that, but I just know I didn't want them catching me. I didn't wanna be, beat up at that time, coulda been which I feel like that's what it was, catch you and throw you on the ground and whatever. And because, I mean, I didn't even have any I didn't know them I didn't know them, they didn't know me, hadn't talked to them, but I know it was about 3 or 4 of them that was like, "We're gonna get you after school," and that was traumatizing. So, I made sure I got out of school early enough, or as soon as that bell rung. I mean, I ran all the way home. I ran, and I just, and after that, I don't know if I told the teacher about it and it stopped, but after that, what was really traumatic to me, and it's still hard for me to talk about this because this really changed the way I saw myself. During lunchtime, there would be this group of girls, about 5 girls, and that would sit at this circular table that was in the same grade I was in, but they weren't in my class. They was in a different class. They didn't know me. I didn't know them. Uh, they just knew I was a new girl at school, and I feel like they did it because they knew that a lot of guys were liking me or were paying attention to me. But this was so traumatic to me. Like I said, it's still hard for me to talk about. I don't even feel like I talked about this. I didn't tell my mom about this for years. I haven't really even told anybody about it. I was too embarrassed to talk about it, and it just hurt too bad to talk about. But every day in that cafeteria after, you eat lunch and you take your tray up to the front to dump it out, right? Every day when I had to do this, when I would pass these girls, at first, it was just they would look at me real hard when I walked by or turn their nose up at me. And then it got to the point to when I would walk past them, they would all in unison say, "Hey, monkey face." And, and it just, at first I'm like, who are they talking to? Like, who? I've never been called that. I didn't feel like I looked like a monkey. I never been told I looked like I mean, that's really irrelevant. But I would get bullied in that way every day. And if you can imagine passing by a group of girls saying that out loud in front of everybody. And to me, it just felt like the whole cafeteria just got quiet because you would have different grades and there are different people, and they would laugh after this. I would try to keep my head up high every day, ignore them, just walk by every day. But it got to the point to where I dreaded. Well, I don't say it got to the point. It just it was always to that point to where I just dreaded to take my tray up. I would wait. I would stall. It just would really hurt me so bad, and I had to just go on throughout my day acting like this didn't affect me or acting like I didn't hear it. It took a while, but one day they started saying, just speaking to me by my, "Hey, Michelle." And it just really hurt me and bothered me because I couldn't fathom why anybody would do somebody like that. Um, but I never spoke about it. I never addressed it. I just ignored it. But from that experience, that gave me a sense of not belonging, feeling rejected, and where I feel like I couldn't trust people. And let me go back to this too. There was also an incident to where at this same school in the same grade, I had this one girl that I felt like we were close friends. And I missed a day from school because I was sick. May have been 2 days, who knows? I don't know. But I came back the next day and the girl was acting funny with me. Didn't have want to talk to me or whatever. And during gym, I don't even know how or where this argument came from or where I don't even know what it was about. Next thing I know, she was fighting me, and it took me by surprise because I had never been in a fight before. It was broken up about as soon as it started, but I didn't even know how it took caught me so off guard that I didn't even know what to do. I was just kind of blocking myself or whatever. And so I'm just saying all this to say That traumatic experience for me in 4th grade at that new school with the different experiences I had gave me a narrative that I replayed over and over in my head to where I couldn't trust friends. Uh, I felt like I wasn't good enough or people would reject me, especially girls. I couldn't trust girls. I felt like I couldn't. And this just went on throughout my life pretty much. And even on to junior high, high school, to where when I would get nominated for different things, I got nominated for homecoming queen, or I was homecoming queen a couple of times, but I wouldn't want to do it. My mom would have to talk me into doing it because from those experiences, I felt like I just wanted to stay small all the time. I didn't want to bring attention to myself. I downplayed myself, even though I wouldn't even be running for these things. I wouldn't ask for these things to for me to be homecoming queen or be voted for certain different things in school. I would just be nominated for it. But instead of me being able to enjoy those times and celebrate those times, they were always scary moments for me because I felt like people are gonna think certain things about me, or how are people gonna react to this? You know. And I can remember another time in high school for your senior year in the yearbook, you could be nominated for different things in senior class. Like you might have best dressed, most athletic, most humorous, or whatever. So we had the category most beautiful. And we always had like a black and white person in each of those categories. Well, I know at least we did for most beautiful, I guess, to make things even, because we had a school that had just as many white kids as it did black kids, right? So I didn't know, like, senior year, I got nominated for most beautiful. And of course, it was this white girl that got nominated for, the same thing. And I remember sitting in class and this girl came in, just making it known she was voting for the white girl. Let me quit saying the white girl. But she was just making it known all the time, like she was voting for that other person. And I guess she was trying to get other people on board with it or whatever. I don't know. It wasn't a big thing to me because I didn't go out and ask for this. I wasn't promoting myself for that. I was just nominated, and that's just what it was. So, and like I said, I wanted to stay out of the spotlight of things anyway. But when it came down to it, I think I may have lost like by a few points. In that moment to myself, felt good about even being thought of that way to be nominated. But at the same time, I had already told myself, you're not going to win it anyway. Because I just didn't think a lot of myself because of what I've gone through. That caused me to create an internal narrative of myself, which started to tell a story of how I was running my life. Because I felt like nobody wanted to be my friend. I felt like, friends will deceive you. You can't trust females because they'll hurt you or they'll deceive you. Um, I felt, like I said, just rejection, just always on the outside of things, not feeling like I belong. And that shaped the way I behaved. That shaped me into like being shy, always not feeling confident, and watching how I behaved, what image I portrayed or put out there, the way people saw me. I wanted to downplay that. I would feel like I wasn't good enough. And even when events would come up or people did invite me to things or wanted to try to be friends with me, it was always I had to be skeptical of that. And I wouldn't want to attend. Like it's a lot of things I didn't go to, and that I was invited to by people because I didn't feel like I could trust them. I felt like they may do something. I may feel like an outsider. Is anybody going to talk to me? Like, what if somebody's trying to set me up for something? It made me miss out on a lot of things because of what happened to me. That just shaped the way of how I moved in life and like the risk I would chose to take or didn't take or how I showed up. So once that narrative, that story is created in your head, it's going to start running your lives in ways that you will start to react in a way that you're going to start looking for those signs to prove that you're right about things and your assumptions about the way you think things are going to go before they even happen, before you even give it a chance. So you're already letting this affect you because you're replaying this stuff in your head over and over. And that's going to give you a different perspective of the way you see things and the way you do things. And it's running your life. And because you've been playing it over and over in your head, it gives you a familiar cycle. This is a familiar cycle that you're in. And because I'm playing it over and over in my head, I'm now in this familiar cycle that I've become accustomed to. But the flip side of that is I'm misinterpreting situations that are healthy. I'm misinterpreting healthy situations that I'm not giving a chance to take place. Does that make sense? So a lot of the times, the issue isn't that we need a new life or our life needs to be better. The issue is that we need to look at our lives in a different way. Or in other words, look at things a different way. The things in our life in a different way. Not our lives. Because once we look at the things in a different way, we'll see our lives in a different way. And the way to do this is to look at where the issue started. Like what prompted this issue. And from there, we can see how it's affecting the narrative of our life, the story we're telling. And we can see how to fix that. So like I always like to do, I have some reflection prompts for you to work on to see if this is affecting. Do you have anything in your life that you're telling over and over that's affecting the way that you see your life? So let me get my questions. Okay, so the first question I have is, what do you tell yourself that is always happening to you? The second one is, what sentence do you say most about your life? The third is, what thing do you keep repeating? And the last one is, what do you assume before it even happens? So write those down, think about them, and whatever answer that you have that's most repeated is the one that you've been telling yourself. It's the one that keeps replaying over and over. That's living rent free in your head. That's shaping your reality. But we're not trying to rewrite the narrative of your life because those things did happen to you. We don't want to pretend those things didn't happen because they did. And we won't acknowledge those. We won't acknowledge the way we felt about it. And as I always say, things happen for a reason. And in the spiritual sense, that's a whole nother story as to why those things happen. But what we do want to try to do is change the way that we interpret the things that happen. So instead of me saying like I can't trust anybody or feeling like I'm being rejected or like I don't belong, I can tell myself that, and I'm still a work in progress because I still find myself doing this to this day, is I can say I'm learning to open up to trusting relationships, to trusting friendships. I have to catch myself because I do have issues at times. I still find myself sometimes uh like withdrawing or clamming up. But when I find that I'm doing it in the moment, I have to sit with myself and switch things around and then accept what is being offered to me or accept what I'm seeing and go with it. So what I'm saying is even the smallest shift we take in that direction will cause a massive change in our lives. Because once we make that shift, we start telling ourselves a different narrative. We start to view things differently. And we'll no longer see ourselves, or you'll no longer, we all, I'm going to say we no longer see ourselves as being the victim anymore. You'll start feeling like you're running things. You're not letting other things run you because you're controlling your own narrative. You're controlling the way you run your story. So in closing, I just want to say that you should choose carefully about the story that you tell yourself about your life because that story can easily become the way that you live your life. So that's going to end today's episode of Everyday Real Talk with Michelle. And I appreciate you guys tuning in again. Don't forget to like the video if you enjoyed it, subscribe to the channel, and comment if you feel the need to share or just want to give some input on the channel or something that you'd like to discuss. But I thank you guys, and I will see you next time.